The Army Painter is my favorite hobby company in the entire world. My desk is literally full of Army Painter products, and it takes me from being an average painter to putting above tabletop standard models out into the tournament scene. Not only that, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive play than any other hobby company in the industry. They allow us to keep doing the things that we do. If you enjoy the Army Painter as much as I do, head over to thearmypainter.com where you can use the discount code ARTOFWAR5 to get a discount on your next order. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Art of War stream. We're going to be talking about the Blood Angels today. Woo! The most loyal sons of the Emperor.
That's right.
That's the sound they make on the war charge, too.
That's right. I mean, this is our both of our favorite Marine chapters.
100%.
I was looking forward to this one, and our faith was rewarded. This one, I don't want to spoil it too much. This one seems really cool.
It seems amazingly cool, flavorful, and it offers different stuff than what Blood Angels currently have, and that's all the buttons I want to hit.
It seems good, flavorful, can compete power level wise with Liberators, and doesn't seem broken. Nope. And that's like, what else do you want? Like, what else could you possibly want?
Yeah, so I'm hyped. We're going to break this down, talk about how we're feeling about it and the Blood Angels in this new meta. And before we jump in, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know how you feel about the Angelic Inheritors, as well as some of the other Grotmas detachments. We'd love to hear from it. In addition, if you want to see a new Blood Angels list from Mr. Jack here, guess what? Head over to the Worm at theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, but even better than that, right now for a limited time is a 50% off your first month coupon code. That's Grotmas 2024, all caps. And with that, you'll join our awesome community and get access to the content, not just Blood Angels, but all the different factions in the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was real happy messing around with some lists, getting some characters in there. But, I don't want to spoil it or nothing.
No, here's how our work day goes: is we're doing work. We're
working hard.
Jack comes over. He's like, check out this Blood Angels list, and then I'm like, hell yeah. And then we're like, okay, we're back to work. And he's like, what about this bad boy?
I updated it.
Hell
That's
yeah.
Right.
We're both just getting hyped about Blood Angels, making everybody else jealous.
Well, how about we get into it? Let's not keep making people jealous.
Here we go.
We got Legacy of the Angel. So this is the character detachment, and I'm here for it. So at the start of the first battle round, this is your detachment rule. Select 2 of the Angelic Legacy abilities listed below. Until the end of the battle, those abilities are active, and they apply to all character units from your army.
Units.
So any unit being led by a character gets a Angelic Legacy ability. Well, you pick 2 of them. There are 3. The first one is your unit can fall back, shoot, and charge, which is solid.
Damn good.
It's solid. As a detachment, it's solid. Nothing wrong with that. But I really want one to really help carry me and let me do damage. Don't worry. The next one is every time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll hits of 1 and wounds of 1.
Bless Sanguinius.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. And keep in mind, I saw some comments on one of our videos that this is just a hit roll of 1. This is for every single attack. So for every single die roll, you reroll a hit roll of 1 and a wound roll of 1. So that's really good. Your detachment rule is character units get reroll 1s to hit and wound and then something else. That's really good.
Guess what? Blood Angels have a lot of really good units.
Characters?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's pretty solid. The other thing here to keep in mind is we're comparing this to Liberators. Liberators is a pretty pure damage buff, +2 strength, +1 attack. Another way to buff damage is rerolling hits and wounds of 1. And depending on the unit, those can be pretty comparable, actually, to where this might put out similar damage to Liberators just because it has rerolls across the board to all characters. But we still have a third ability to choose from, which is their appointed hour. You can reroll advance and charge rolls for this unit. That one to me feels like the third best by a pretty clear margin. But that's okay, because your detachment rule being reroll hits and wounds of 1 and fallback, shoot, and charge, it's a good detachment rule. It's a good detachment rule.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Pretty solid. It's really good. It's really good. It also does a thing where this is all character units get this. So it's a lot of the times going to be your combat. Right?
Absolutely.
What that means is your shooting gets oath because you don't need oath for melee because you're rerolling hits and wounds of 1. So it's really synergistic there. So your shooting always gets oath. It's great.
One of the big weaknesses of some of the Marine chapters was you can really kill something dead. Like one thing you can pick it and you're like, that thing is dead for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But then you could struggle. Your opponent has a couple minuses to hit in some other places, and all of a sudden you swing down. This gives you the rerolls everywhere you need it. That's a different type of ball game in terms of consistency.
Absolutely. And if your opponent does, I mean, we're pretty clear that the reroll hits and wounds of 1 is like the centerpiece of this rule.
Dynamite.
It's really good. And if your opponent does have -1 to hit, you can oath that target. Get in there and start doing the Emperor's Justice.
But I think you made
them with a sword.
You made a really good point here about being able to run both shooting and combat. That's very important, I think, right now for modern Marine armies.
Yep, because Marines have a lot of units that are oath hogs. They do damage, but they really do damage if they have oath. And only one thing gets oath every turn. We're not Ultramarines out here. So having the damage buff across the army, and then for shooting, which like a lot of times your vehicles won't have reroll 1s to hit and wound, you can then give them oath, means the army's going to be tremendously consistent across the board, which is really good. So I'm very excited. That detachment rule slams. This is the sort of thing where, you know, they could have made it mediocre by just saying you get 1 of the 3. And then it's like, all right, that's good. But you get 2 of the 3. Woo!
And one of them is reroll 1s to hit and wound.
Yeah.
Come on.
And the other one's fallback, shoot, and charge, which is also really good. You can't tie them up.
Nope.
It's really solid. It's also not a strat like in Liberators. In Liberators, you have to pay a resource to fall back, shoot, and charge. And you can't do both or you battle shock yourself. And if your opponent ties up 2 units, only 1 can fall back. This, every character unit can fall back, shoot, and charge.
Love it. Then we have restrictions. Of course, if you do take this one, your army can include Blood Angel units, but can't include like Ultramarines or some of the other named chapters out there. So let's dive into these enhancements here, starting with Prescient Flash, which is 20 points. That goes on Astartes model. Model in the Bearers unit have Scout 6.
It's a really good enhancement.
Lets them get straight up to the board, and turn 1, you're easily touching pretty much anywhere in the center of the board if you need to.
Yep. You can either put this on a jump pack unit to make them go really far turn 1. My favorite would probably be you put this on a foot unit just to get like double movement on turn 1, and then you can basically be staged, perfectly positioned where you need to go.
Yeah, it means for something like maybe Blade Guard, for instance, where they don't quite have to run a transport now if they scout up 6, move advance into the ruin turn 1 guaranteed.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty good. What I'm looking for this on is something like Company Heroes.
Yep.
Company Heroes are really efficient, but they need to be led by a captain. The captain a lot of the time wants assault intercessors so that you get reroll wounds. Well, what if you rerolled hits and wounds of 1 already and put them in the really durable Company Heroes and then give it Scout? And I think that's a really good combination for this detachment.
Absolutely. All right, then we have Troubling Visions. 15 points here. Goes on Astartes model as well. Once per battle in your command phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. When it does, until the start of your next command phase, all Angelic Legacy abilities are active for the bearer's unit instead of just 2 of them.
Well, not every rule can be a hit.
The amount of times that you're going to need all 3, probably pretty low. But it may come up, but you're spending the points you're probably taking other enhancements. I'm going to be honest with you.
Most of the time. The detachment rule is flexible because you can change it game to game, but most of the time, this is going to be 15 points once per battle. You can reroll advance and charge rolls, but you have to declare it in your command phase, and you don't advance and charge.
Probably not necessary.
Probably not worth it. But that's okay. Again, they can't all be hits.
We got the Blazing Icon for 20 points here. Goes on in Astartes infantry model. Enemy units cannot use Fire Overwatch stratagem to shoot at the bearer's unit.
It's solid. If you need something to run up and punch out a Redeemer, or something to run up and you know, there's some units that are really good in Overwatch.
Cataphront Breachers, you know.
Cataphront Breachers, yeah, they're quite good on Overwatch. I just shoot them with Indicators personally.
There's a couple, so this is very meta dependent.
Yes.
In a meta where there's a lot of scary Overwatch targets, 100% you might want to grab this. In a meta where you're not too concerned about Overwatch, or it's very terrain dense, so you can charge out, from behind a ruin, so you don't really care about Overwatch, you don't need it.
No, you really don't. I think most of the time you're going to leave this at home, but again, if there's something you're really scared of overwatching and you want to be ready for it, it's not a bad way to do so.
Definitely. And I think you love this one.
Ordained Sacrifice. First time the bearer is destroyed, roll a d6 into the phase. On a 2+, set the bearer back up on the battlefield as close as possible. and not within engagement range of one or more enemy units with 3 wounds remaining. It's 25 points, which is expensive, but what you get is pretty darn good, which is you can run a character onto an objective and your opponent has to go on to that objective because they have to take the objective away from you. They can't just shoot you to death. And then also, once you stand back up, well, you're a character with reroll ones to hit and wound and go on, get in there, you know? It's pretty good. It's 3 wounds remaining means you are pretty vulnerable to just getting charged. Space Marine characters aren't typically that durable, but being able to stand back up, go hit something else, go tie something else up, hold an objective based off the stand up is pretty good. It's definitely worth 25 points. You don't need it, but if you want to spend the 25 points, you're getting your value there.
Absolutely. There's probably a little bit of a counter synergy here in that the characters that you probably most want this with would be a chaplain, right? Because when Death Company don't have a chaplain nearby, it's heinously bad.
It's not like it's not unworkable, but you definitely want to have your chaplain.
So having a chaplain stand back up would be really cool, but this detachment gives you more rerolls than you normally have access to, so there's less need to have to run Death Company as your damage output. So there's interesting.
Yeah, I like this on like a captain of some description. Just stand back up with, some power fist attacks or some power weapon attacks, run in, kill something, hold an objective. I don't think you need to get like a ton of value out of it for it to be worth it.
Yeah. I use it sometimes in my Votan list to just say, okay, this durable guy stands back up and you have to do something about it.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm just going to get a 15 unless you walk onto the center. And then you walk onto the center and I'm shooting with indicators and et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty good. We
Absolutely.
like it.
Heading into the strats, we're going to start off with Armor of Contempt. And you might be saying, Armor of Contempt, we know that, we love that. Well, guess what? In the latest balance data slate, it has been changed to be end of an attack sequence. So you get an entire attack sequence, you'll have Armor of Contempt, but not for the whole phase anymore. Which is a big change.
It's a huge change, and it makes the strat much worse. It's still probably about as good as it was in combat, because combat tends to be about single bigger activations that you know where they go, and your opponent is like committed once they start swinging on you. They can't choose to hit something else. They've already charged you. Whereas in shooting, a lot of the time it'll be, first activation goes in, cool, now we switch targets. Or they just keep shooting you with a lot of little activations, and suddenly you're losing a unit because the first activation you had -1 AP against, but the second one you don't. And that's kind of...
This is a huge change against armies that their damage is more MSU, where they have maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 damage dealers. None of them do insane damage, but all of them will add up. Whereas... in the case of, hey, I have 3 big brick units, 2 are going to activate in shooting, 1's going to activate in combat, Armor of Contempt still has quite a bit of value there.
Yeah. I think Armor of Contempt is pretty decent in combat. Larger activations means you're getting more value. A lot of times also combat, for whatever reason, is lower AP than shooting a lot of the time. And so you will be, hit with a lot of AP2 or a lot of AP1, and you're going to want to blank that. But it's a lot worse, but it's still a good strat.
You'll use it when you need it.
Yes.
All right, tell us about the next one, Jack.
Focused Fury. In the fight phase, you pick an Adeptus Astartes unit that has not been selected to fight, and you get lethal hits. And if you're a character unit, you get Lance. That's pretty good.
I haven't heard those before.
Lance Lethal? You haven't heard Lance Lethal? Well, what if you don't have to battle shock yourself to get that, and then you also reroll ones to hit and wound?
I'm into it.
Would you like that? Is that a thing
for
you would
one
like?
CP? 100%.
That's good. It's good because it might also be 0 CP because there's going to be a lot of captains in this list.
I think that's fair. Next up, we have Instant Grace. 1 CP used in your command phase. 1 Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from army. You select 1 non-character model in your unit. Till the start of your next command phase, your model has the character keyword. Very interesting.
Pretty neat.
The designer's note says that while in effect, your model's unit is therefore a character unit, meaning it can interact with the detachment rule in addition to other rules that interact with characters.
It'd be so sad if you popped Instant of Grace and then your opponent immediately draws Assassinate. It's like, he's a character, right? You're like, legally, I have to say yes.
He does have that keyword.
Yes. But it's pretty decent, right? It's 1 CP, reroll hits and wounds of 1, fallback, shoot, and charge. It's pretty tight. And then also, if you want to get the benefits of any of the other abilities, you can. That's pretty solid.
They were very careful to add the Adeptus Astartes infantry on here because this would have been put on vehicles 100%.
Yes. I would be giving vehicles reroll ones to hit and wound with this 100% of the time, if I could. All right, strike now for glory. 1 CP, Adeptus Astartes unit, any unit, that has not been selected to shoot gets sustained hits 1 in shooting. It is only in shooting, and it's only okay, honestly. I don't see a ton of use for this because a lot of your shooting units are going to be like are we taking like Hellblasters, that sort of thing, things that pump out like 20 mid-strength shots where I really care about sustained? Probably not. And things like Vindicators and Lancers, if you pop sustained, you might get benefit out of it. You might not. And I think this is going to be pretty strat for CP because I think you're going to be using some of the subsequent strats quite often.
Does the Gladiator Reaper have sustain natively?
Sustain 2 against infantry, no sustain against anything else.
Okay. So but that's the type of profile you'd be looking for, is something with enough volume where you will guarantee get a good amount of them.
Yeah.
So if you're not running that, not necessary. But yeah, here we go. In the Shadow of Great Wings. What a title here.
It is. And I do think that this is, this ties the detachment together. This strat, I think, makes the whole thing like good.
It puts the detachment on its wings.
That's right. In the shadow of some pretty great wings. A character unit cannot be shot outside of 18. Or yes, outside of 18. So it has to be a character unit. It doesn't even have to be an infantry character unit, but character unit's going to be infantry most of the time. Cannot be shot outside of 18 is pretty huge because it means your army gets to be pretty darn dynamic, especially since you're probably going to have a lot of lone ops. What with Mephiston and the Sanguinor being lone ops, means the army's kind of annoying to deal with in shooting. So something like, 6 Sanguinary Guard with Dante, very scary threat. You do not want to just let that walk up and hit you, but guess what? You also can't shoot it unless you're within 18 of it. So it just makes things really obnoxious, right? You can do this for free with Captain. So a Captain with like 3 Sanguinary Guard running up a flank, you have to go within 18 of it if you want to do something about it, and that is the point where it might not be very fun. It's very good. This is a very, very good strat, and I think you're going to be spamming this out constantly.
I know people's first impression is 18 is nowhere near as strong as 12-inch lone op, and you are right. It isn't. However, 18-inch lone op, as somebody who abuses it with Skitarii Hunter cohort, I can promise you it is a lot more impactful in general against durable and your best units, because your opponent has to put every single thing they want to shoot within 18. And trust me, on terrain in the middle of the table, it is a lot harder to actually get everything that you want within 18.
Also, Blood Angels, if you get within 18 of Blood Angels, you might be having a bad time. And so if you can use this on like a little 5-man squad with a captain, right? That's fairly cheap. It's like 160 points or whatever. You can do that. And then if your opponent gets multiple units within 18, that's when you charge them with like the harder hitting stuff. And then if they commit small things to that and they don't solve the problem, there's a push and a pull there that you're going to put your opponent in, and that's very nice. In addition, it's very gameable against a lot of people, right? Star Shatter won't be able to shoot outside of like 32, 33 inches. So you can just leave units in the open, not multiple, but like you can leave a unit in the open. And then if they poke out, you go, can't shoot me outside of 18. My Vindicators will shoot you though. And that is definitely really nice. Like Vindicators, if your opponent moves within 18 of you, you just pop your Vindicators into the open and light them up. And that's really good. Or your opponent just doesn't poke out at all and you get to start walking units up the board.
Yeah. There's also interesting things you do with stringing out units so that if they activate the first thing, cool, you pull those first 2 models. Now they're not within 18 for the next activation.
Yep. And you just pop it mid-activate or mid their turn, right? Yep. And you just go, boop. All right, now you can no longer shoot me.
And they've already exposed everything.
Yes. Now, the downside is every unit that has to do this is going to have a character. So if your opponent is savvy, they're going to put every model within 18 of the character. So you have to be very careful where your characters go. But, dude, 18-inch lone op, it's a great strat. It would have been better if it were 12-inch lone op, for sure. But you have some of those as well. And so you can game ranges like, a place where my opponent can get within 18, but not within 12, Mephiston. A place where my opponent can't get within 18 or doesn't want to get within 18 because that would lead to their demise. All right, character unit and then strat. And it's going to be really good.
Now, the last strat here is also reminiscent of Hunter Cohort. 1 CP unto the burning skies. End your opponent's fight phase. 1 Astartes jump pack unit from your army. You can't target a unit that's within engage range of 1 or more enemy units unless it's the Sanguinor.
Would you take the Sanguinor in this detachment?
100%.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I would also take the Sanguinor. My main issue with him was he wasn't consistent. What if we roll ones to hit and wound? Anyway, we're going to take the Sanguinor back to you.
Also, he can disappear if he's in engage range, which is actually quite cute.
Well, he also goes into strategic reserves and can stay there as long as he wants because he's been put back into strat reserves. And that means I need to double check whether his ability to come in is once per game. Let me double check that real quick.
While Jack's looking that up, so you're going to
It is once per battle.
Yeah, I thought so.
To come in and mess your opponent's charge up. But he can also just go into strat reserves and come back down and start doing secondaries or coming in their backfield or something.
This is extremely strong. And in most armies that have it, the go back into reserve is the strongest thing about the detachment, or one of the top 2 things. And I think it is very, very strong here. Late game mobility is huge. A lot of armies just aren't going to be screening, and with the game-wide change to 3-inch deep strikes being 6-inch, there's a lot less emphasis on bringing 12-inch no-go zones, which opens up their backfield in late game 100%.
Yep, I'm just going to put a unit behind you. I'm going to try for the 9-inch charge. I'll see if I get it this turn. But you're not in a position to deal with the unit that just dropped behind you. So next turn, it definitely will take your home field, right? I can make a 9-inch charge with a reroll is about 50-50. So I'm going to drop in. I'm going to go for the 50-50. If I don't hit it, I'm definitely taking it next turn. And then you have to solve that, right? That's a problem you have to deal with.
Yep.
You can also take this with the newly cheaper Inceptors if you want to. Go back, go up, go down, shoot, go up, come down, shoot. You can even make an Inceptor model character and reroll ones to hit and wound, although you are twin linked and you probably get Oath on that unit, so you probably don't have to do that. It's interesting. It's neat. And then you can have that unit dancing around, shooting people.
You can also have a turn 4 rapid ingress.
That is, I don't think so, right? Because it's end of your opponent's fight phase, they go up.
No, I'm saying, right, you do end of fight phase earlier on in the game, and they're just
they're just stay in reserves.
They're just in reserves.
Yeah, turn 2, you just, whoop, I'm up.
This is something that I do with the ad mechanism. Just have something out there.
Because it doesn't say you have to come in.
It doesn't.
And
That's the key part.
Put into reserves already. So yeah, turn 4, you can just rapid ingress like a unit because you put it back into reserves.
So if your opponent is able to play defensive early, but like eventually has to come out, you're like, okay, cool, now I hit you.
Yes. And oftentimes like one coordinated push on turn 4 where you take their home objective and you take their expansion objective and then they hit you back. Like that's all you need.
In a tight game that just swings
them 10 points and like, cool, there you go.
I think there's a lot of good stuff going on in here.
Yeah, and a lot of it's utility, right? A lot of it isn't raw damage. There's Lethal Lance, which is enough to take units over the top, which is good. You need units that can, to get that damage buff to the point where they can actually kill things, right? Like Blade Guard, for example, not really going to kill anything relevant, not by themselves. But if you give them reroll ones to hit, which they already have it, yes, but reroll ones to wound and then Lethal Lance, suddenly now we're talking. Now you can actually do some damage. Things like Sanguinary Guard, just by themselves, are good, but not great, especially since they really want to hit targets that are less than toughness 6. But if you give them Lethal Lance, reroll ones to hit, reroll ones to wound, suddenly now they can actually kill real targets. And those are the sort of breakpoints you want to get because you don't want it to be, I can kill a whole bunch of, regular Space Marines. That's good. You need to be able to do that. But you need to also have units that can punch up and to kill big, tough things. Otherwise, your opponent is going to take big, tough things and jam you up with them and say, none of these are, Marine bodies. They're all like Terminators with armor, contempt, and -1 damage or something. And you need to be able to still kill those or kill like a vehicle, right? You don't want your big bad Sanguinary Guard to run into a Rhino and be like, yeah, we did 6 damage. We didn't kill the Rhino. No. You want to kill that. So it's very good. Very good there.
Yeah. I'm a pretty big fan of this detachment, not going to lie.
This attachment's cool.
I think there's a lot of viability here for a different style of Blood Angels that is also mixed arms.
Yes. I think this you know what this reminds me a lot of? The Admech detachment. And we sung the Admech detachment's praises, the Halo Screed Battle Barge.
Clade.
Right. Sure. And we sung that detachment's praises because it wasn't broken. Probably wasn't even as good as the
Hunter
cohort, but that's a high bar. But it was flavorful, it was fun, it was powerful, and it rewarded taking. You could use its rules to take a variety of different units.
Yep.
I like the Custodes detachment. I don't hate it or anything, but like I wish there was one that just kind of buffed Custodes across the board rather than just, all right, you get rules if you take X unit and you don't if you take Y unit. It's like what I didn't like about like the Necron book, right? If you take the Canoptic Court, there's like 6 data sheets that get rules and everything else gets left out in the cold. And this detachment doesn't do that, right? I mean, you have to take characters, but there's a broad variety of ways to take characters. And that is really cool.
Especially for an army like Space Marines where there's almost a character for anything that you could want.
Yeah, every unit can take a character, basically. And even the ones that can't, now can, because 1 CP, you are a character, you Centurion Devastator you. I don't think that's particularly great. They already have rerolls and stuff, but you can, right? You can make an Inceptor unit reroll 1s to hit and wound, which is like cool, right? You can make. I'm naming all things that have rerolls. Okay, whatever.
There's not many rerolls in 10th edition.
You can make your Eradicators reroll 1s to hit and wound. All right, they already have rerolls, but the point is it benefits a broad variety of units, and it's limited by your creativity, right? What characters do you take? How do you take them? What enhancements do you put on them? Like, what strats do you use on them? Because you can get a buff to damage, buff to shooting, buff to durability, buff to utility. It's super cool. I love this attachment.
I think that a solid 2 thumbs up. Good job,
4
Games
thumbs
Workshop. Hell yeah.
4 thumbs.
So,
this attachment legitimately might be better than Liberators. It's hard to tell. Liberators has that raw power, and then it also has advancement charge.
Do you know how we're going to tell, Jack?
How are we going to tell?
We're going to put Blood Angels, this Angelic Inheritors, on stream in some games in the War Room. So if you do want to check out not only Jack's list ideas for the new detachment, which there, as I said before, are many, there's also going to be games with the Blood Angels coming soon. So if you want to check that out, thewarroom.vhx.tv, there's that 3-day free trial. But even better than that, 50% off your first month. And you can use the code Grotmas2024, all caps, to get access to our awesome community and content for every single army in the game. In addition, if you're joining us here on YouTube, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow the channel. And leave a comment below letting us know how hyped you are on the Blood Angels detachment and other Grotmas rules. We'd love to hear from you, and we really appreciate your continued support. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next time for a lot more. So long for now.